Hey, Mega Moms, Jessica Hensley here with Real Estate Mega Moms, where we help moms create a life and a business that they love. And today I am joined by Raygen Battishill. Did I say that right, Raygen?
Battishill, yeah, close.
Battishill. Okay. And she has just made the move to align with me at EXP. And this podcast is not just about EXP, although I do want to talk about her journey. And obviously, there's a lot of brokerages that she can choose from. And so, why did she choose EXP and the Mega Moms downline? And then also her journey as a realtor. She's in Manhattan, Kansas area and has been in the business for a while now with kiddos. And so I'm excited to get to chat with Raygen and to introduce her to our tribe. Hey, Raygen.
Hi.
Thanks for being on the podcast with me today. So why don't you just start out by telling us when you got in the business, what made you decide to get your real estate license in the first place?
So I started in 2018. At the time, I had a home daycare. And before that, I worked at the local bank, and I knew that I didn't want to put my kids in daycare. So at the time, the solution was to open a home daycare. And once you start having a lot of children, which I have 4, it's no longer profitable. Have only your own children in daycare. But again, I knew I didn't want to put my kids in daycare, and my husband and I had long-term goals of flipping, rentals, just real estate investing. And so it just made sense to move into real estate. And I didn't know I would love it so much, honestly, but I really, really do.
Oh, well, what do you love about it? What made you decide to stay in the business?
Oh man, it's honestly, it's just the best job for a mom, at least for this mom. I don't have to put my kids in daycare. I can work as much as I want to or don't want to. We have different seasons of life, whether, I spent a year with a 1-year-old, then I was pregnant, then I took my infant with me everywhere with me for a whole year of real estate. And there's not any other job that would allow for that, or not any that I'm aware of. I also really it's just a special place in people's lives.
Yeah.
And I love that I can be the expert in my field and get paid accordingly. You know what I mean? As much as I'm willing to work for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I share that perspective too. I feel like it's one of the most rewarding jobs because you were saying I don't know of any other job that would let you bring your infant. And I was thinking like are there other jobs? And some that come to mind is like maybe some online sales type things where you see these boutique stores popping up and people are selling this and that. And even like some of the MLM stuff. And while all of that is well and good, sometimes I want to just like grab some of these girls and be like, hey, if you realize the same effort that you're putting in there could be translated into real estate, you would make so much more, right? There's just it's a bigger payoff monetarily. And like you said, you get to be involved in such a great time in people's lives. And sometimes it's a difficult time, but they need an ally. They need somebody that's going to advocate for them. And that's where you get to come in and really make a difference for your client. So I love that. Raygen, tell me about your successes through that. What did your number of transactions and volume look like from 2018 kind of up until now?
Well, I've pretty consistently been just comfortable at 25 to 30 transactions. That's kind of my average, and I was fine with that until recently, and now I'm ready to really up my game. I want to continue to grow and earn more, but I don't want to sacrifice the time with my family. And that's when I found my business partner, Erin. And she came into the picture, and she is in the same small town as me. And that was the whole goal and why we partnered, was to be able to grow and still maintain that balance of home work life. And we knew, like, we had a vision of what we wanted for our business, and we knew we couldn't accomplish it alone. And then that's when we kind of we found you. That's,
Yeah.
um, and that was like, man, when I look back over the course of my life, I see God in so many ways, like 10 steps ahead of me, right? And so now looking back, I see the vision and everything that we had. And then he just perfectly just like nudged Jessica into my world. And I was like, she literally has everything that I have been trying to accomplish and like trying to reinvent this wheel already just pre-packaged and planned out and perfect. So that was just like
Oh,
absolutely, absolutely a blessing. Just
oh, you're gonna make me cry. Oh my gosh, I love that. And as far as Mega Moms goes and what we have put together, it's been a lot of trial and error and a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears. And I always say we try to put together what I wish I had whenever we started my brokerage, and even just the first half of my career as a real estate agent really was aimlessly wandering in this space and never really able to kind of figure it out. And I hate that. I wish I didn't have um, that part of the journey, because if I could have started out successful, I'd be a lot farther along than I am today. And so I want other people to avoid the mistakes I made. So I love that the package is helpful for you. And so that kind of brings me to maybe the next step here. You had a difficult decision. You decided, I'm going to make a change. And I know you expressed to me like there was no hard feelings. You really enjoyed and the company that you were with, and that they had brought you as far as you were, but then you decided there needed to be a change. So what was that thought process like, and how did you kind of finally come to the decision of moving forward with the change?
well, so before I've been a part of the Mega Moms Facebook group and stuff, and it's had a lot of great inspiration for me and a great community. But I had done that since I started in real estate in 2018. Um,
Oh, okay. You're an OG then. Okay.
but I hadn't, before I really made the connection with you and started watching some of your videos and things like that. So before that is when I had the vision for wanting to have a partner, someone to share the load with. I've never really had the desire to do a mega team or a traditional team in that situation. And so I was searching for information and trying to find some information on a partnership or something similar of how people are taking their business to the next level with small children and all of the other things, and still being able to go to all the ball games and pick your kids up from school and drop them off at everything.
Mhm.
um, and the brokerage that I was with, my broker was really, really a great trainer and resource to get me up and going. But once I got to that point, he was kind of like, well, good luck. Let me know what you need. And so there wasn't quite that level of support either. I don't know if it was not necessarily like a threat, but just kind of, I'm not a huge fan of maybe what you're doing.
Mhm.
Not super encouraging of it. And that's when I just started looking for other resources. And then once I looked into EXP, and then it just all these things just started falling into place because I
Got
saw
lined up.
unrelated, total, like not even through the Mega Moms page, I saw one of your YouTube videos about starting a micro team.
Okay.
And then I made the connection and I was like, the Mega Moms lady. And then I saw on there at some point, I saw that you were EXP, and I had just been looking into EXP. And then I was like, I need to figure out, like, everything that I was reading, it was like, you need to make sure that you have great upline. And
Yeah.
so it just, like I said, everything just started falling into place for what I wanted. And
Well, and let's talk about that a little bit because from your perspective, you joined in November, I think.
uh, join EXP
Yeah,
August.
in August. Okay, okay. So since you've joined the support and like what have you had access to and what tools made you so excited about this particular upline, and I think what I want to hear is your perspective on that. If somebody else is shopping and they think EXP is where they want to go, but then what upline they choose, what makes this one unique?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to 3 different EXP, I guess, people, and looked for, what do they offer? Where does my, personality and goals fit in with where they're going? And the other people were fine. They were great, but then when I sat down with you and you gave me just like, I hadn't even committed to EXP or anything, and you're like, here's business in a box. And I was like, my mind was blown, and it just like, that was it. That's what did it for me, because I didn't have to reinvent the wheel, and everything that I had started to do, and I had like Excel sheets started and things, and like I was trying to get there, and I would have gotten there eventually, but this was just like the fast forward button. And now
Yeah.
that I'm here, I've got just this great community. And another thing that I have found is like just the resource of the mega moms aspect. Not everyone in this business has that same pull in their life, with children, and especially younger children. And so seeing how other people are doing it and having that community of the moms is really helpful to me too.
Yeah. And what she's talking about with the business in a box. So our downline has access to our coaching programs. That's one of the benefits and features to being with the Mega Moms downline, which we call ourselves the Agent Alliance because we do have men in our downline too, not just women and moms, but yeah, so they all have access to our core programs, which is the 6 foundations to building a business you love and micro team. And the 6 foundations really does that. It just gives you a foundation for your business. And that is the business in a box, what she's referring to. And I mean, it goes from like helping you track your transactions, knowing your budget, knowing your finances for your business, how many sellers you need at all times, how many buyers you need at all times, how many appointments, how many leads you need to be talking to, like literally every step of the way. I tried to be as inclusive as I could of everything you would possibly need can be tracked and monitored from a spreadsheet that's low tech, so it's not, yes, I have formulas in there, but it's not like you have to log into some fancy CRM. We definitely show you how to use a CRM. We're not against CRMs, but I think sometimes we overcomplicate our businesses when really if we just have it outlined, it's easier to follow and keep up with. So I love that you love that.
I do, absolutely.
And then you said fast forward your business. So we have to mention we're also part of the fast forward movement. And I don't know if you've got to go to any of those calls, but every Monday, our fast forward group, we have 500 plus agents from across the country. And the fast forward group is ran by Dan Beer, Kyle Wessel, and Mary Maloney. And it has the top producing agents in all of EXP, from what I understand. They are the mega teams, like the agents that are doing 500 transactions. I mean, crazy numbers. And so that's awesome. If you want to reach that level, this brokerage has that next step. And what you had said earlier is something common that I hear of my broker trained me, taught me the basics, took me to a level where I could do business. And then they're like, okay, great, do your thing. And I think 90% of agents are satisfied with that. They're satisfied with just, okay, I'm going to do business as it flows to me. And maybe they just have different goals, or they don't have to have it as a full time, or what, or just don't know anything else is possible. But these agents that come to me, they're like, I reached a certain level of success, but I wasn't challenged to reach that next level. And that's often because you become the big fish in a little pond, maybe even the top producer in that brokerage, and you don't have that next benchmark or milestone to reach after. And to me, that's what fast forward brings, because even though I've been in the business going on 21 years and I feel like I've seen a great level of success, I still have people I can look at and learn from and see how they're running their businesses, how they're getting new leads, how they're, making their systems more efficient. And to me, that's the one of the biggest values that EXP brings to the table for me, is the fast forward movement. And hopefully you get to tap into that too soon.
Yeah, and that's exactly my story too. You hit the nail on the head, because when I left at the time, I was the most seasoned agent there, which, I mean, I'd only been in the business for 5 years, but
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to keep growing, and I wanted to keep doing more. And I had gotten just a little bit too comfortable, and it was the same mundane, you know what I mean? So absolutely having those top producers to go to, and just especially, I love having the community that's all across the nation, because certain trends and things start elsewhere, and then people in those areas are talking about it and bringing it to our market. And so no one else in my market is doing XYZ. So now I can start that here and benefit from being the first to really take off on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that too, because the traditional brokerage model, where you have the broker at the top and you have the agents underneath them, but their agents underneath them are from your local community. So they're kind of your competition, even though we don't necessarily view each other as competition, or we shouldn't view each other as competition, there's still things that you keep private, right? Because it's good business. I have a certain way I'm doing my listings. I probably don't want to share that with the agent down the road, because that's my differentiator. And whether you're being, scarcity minded or limited minded or whatever, I think that's how most agents feel, right? They don't want to necessarily share everything, their playbook, with every other agent in their brokerage. But you put them in the same room with somebody from another town. Oh, well, now you're not a threat. Now I can be truly abundant, and you're going to pour into me just as much as I'm pouring into you. And I think that's what the national brokerages do bring to the table, is you have that option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Trying to think what else we could share, or is there anything else that you can think of that's been instrumental in your journey?
Ooh, let me think. It really opened, before any of this, just in my general business. It took me several years before I started getting into some of the helpful books and things that people had been recommending to me. And then once I did, it just like opened my mind, like everything, like there's so much more. And like, that was a whole new world to me.
Yeah. What books? Give me some examples of books that you would recommend a real estate agent should be reading right now.
Well, let me pull up my Audible list, and I'll tell you real quick. I think the first one that I did was the 7 Levels of Communication. And then I went to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I I did go through ninja selling. I really liked ninja selling. Atomic Habits, Hyperlocal Fast, 365 Thank Yous, The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you haven't read that. So, I mean, only a few of those are directly real estate related, but they all have insightful stuff that does pertain a lot to our line of work.
Where do you think most of your business is coming from?
Sphere of influence.
Okay. And
It's
is
definitely
that, go ahead.
sphere of influence and past clients, personal referrals. That's, I mean, I don't pay for any online lead sources or anything like that. I think it's kind of a little bit of, well, it's where I'm at and where you're at as well is like a whole different ball game being in a small community. And we serve like a 50-mile radius. So some of the stuff that applies to the bigger areas doesn't apply here. And I think I get a lot further with sphere of influence, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think there are some universal principles because I do some online advertising and, social media marketing in a small area, and it does make a difference. I don't know about you, but I'm not from this area. Now I've lived here for quite a while, and my husband's from this area, but I'm from Oklahoma City. And so I really did feel like I had to I didn't go to high school with these people. I didn't go to college with these people. I didn't really have a built-in sphere here. So really social media was my way to carve my path to success in real estate in a small town. And I believe that that also works in a big town.
I would agree with that.
So are you from Chapman?
I'm not. My husband is.
Okay.
I grew up in Kansas City.
Okay. Okay. So kind of similar.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what advice would you have for a new agent that's thinking about getting into the business or thinking about, going all in? How can they make sure that they're successful in the beginning?
Find your why. That's definitely the biggest. Like it's a demanding, challenging job, and it can be a roller coaster. And if you don't have a why to go back to, it's really easy to get burnt out. And so, whether you're getting into it because it's expensive to get started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're ready to go all in, finding your why makes all the world of a difference.
You're right. And getting crystal clear on that and then keeping reminders of that why and just making it really real and tangible. I agree with you on that. I feel like most people have maybe low expectations of themselves in the beginning because they're afraid of letting themselves down or being disappointed. They just don't know what's possible. And I just got to interview my showing agent on the podcast, Angela Baker, and she did 40 transactions in her first year as a realtor. 25 of those were from her sphere and 15 were referrals from me as a lead. And then the rest of the income she made was working with my buyers as my showing agent on my micro team. And she generated over 150,000 or almost 150,000 in income in a small town, Kansas, So that's even more impressive. And when she first started, she's like, well, even if I just make 40,000, 40,000, I'll be satisfied with that. And I know she'd go back, she'd probably tell herself, like, you can do it. You can do it. Just keep at it and stay consistent. And like what she did is she plugged in to her tribe, plugged into the trainings, did what she was asked to do. And all of those things make such a difference. You don't have to do it on your own, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Raygen, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We didn't even talk. You said you have 4 kids. How old are your kids?
My kids are 10, 8, 6, and 3.
So you have a busy house. She's juggling selling real estate and starting to build a team. And you're hoping to close, you're projected to close how many this year?
The goal is, well, being that we left a lot on the table and we're, at our old brokerage and getting going this year, our realistic goal is 60.
Okay,
And
that's pretty impressive. Yeah, that's impressive. And I know you can do that for sure. So if somebody wants to send you a referral or maybe even connect with you about EXP and your amazing upline, how would they how would they contact you?
They can call me, email me,
Right.
the home team on Facebook. Um,
It's just the home team. Well, you know what we'll do is in the show notes, we will put the link to your Facebook profile. We'll put your phone number and you want to do your email as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. Raygen is you have such a sweetheart, and I have loved getting to know you almost for the past year, and also getting to see you like in my coaching programs and actually doing the work. You're you're going to be so great at EXP, and we're so excited to have you here. Thank you for choosing our team, to choosing Mega Moms as your sponsor. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
all right, everyone, we'll talk to you next week.